And then you would re-enter 2 units right here when that pullback comes. And you would exit those 2 units probably somewhere about right here. One of those. So you got 1 unit open here, you got 1 unit open from there, and you've made 2 trades exit. So the first part of that trade was worth 40 pips. The next part of that trade, starting here, was worth about 40 pips. And so you still have 80 or 120 pips left. Now, goes on down here and have another pullback, so you have another entry there. I leave the rest of these 2 all in. I don't take any more out. So here you enter 2 more, and you close everything out. When you get to the bottom, there's your reversal. There's your reversal bar. You see that? That's a perfect reversal bar telling you the bears tried to take over, but the bulls came. So I would exit about right here. I want to make sure that I'm not giving up the bottom of that run, or as much of that bottom as I can get. So I'd probably exit about right here. So you've got 1 open, 2 open, and 4 open. So you've got all of those. So this first one, that closed out for 120. The second part of it closed out for 124 pips. The second part of this one closed out for about 80 pips. And this one closed out this one closed out 2 units at 35, so 70 pips. If you guys want to add those up, it totals about 300 pips. So that's called the acceleration. This is the A part of the max. The M part is when the Momo, acceleration and exit. That's the X. M-A-X. Okay. Now, you go up here after you've exited all of these. If you're brave and you've still got this good angle and separation here, you could enter a couple more here very safely when it touches that blue line. That's a perfect re-entry. You could get out there with about 25 pips, or your 2 units, you get out there at 47, or another 90 pips onto that before we get this signal to get out there with that doji. And you can see that this is beginning to flatten out. So of your third part of that trade, there were 3 parts to it. There's your exit, and there's your entry. Now, I know this, we've gone over this a little fast because there's 3 parts of it. There's 1 part, part 2, and part 3. As long as you've got this going for you, you don't want to quit. Now, with those 3 max trades, there's over 600 pips there in let's see how long would that period did that cover. That started at 6 o'clock on April the 23rd. Now that's 6 o'clock. That's midnight my time. That started at midnight my time, and it ended the next day at, ended the next day at 15:55. So that's 3:55. That's 15 hours, and there's about 600 pips. So now I'm going to add some special sauce here to help you with stuff like this. If I can find it. I just revised it a minute ago. Okay. You'll love this one. And I didn't invent this. Most of the stuff we use, what we do, we find stuff out there on the internet, and then we have Craig or Bluto modify it to our specifications, to what we like. Okay, let me find this. Here we go. Yeah, you'll love this guy. Let me fix the things here. This is a form of stochastic. And this is, now, and let me say this, I don't trade stochastics by themselves. Stochastics are simply a verifier of what else ever is going on. If I get a signal on this to trade, I wouldn't do it. I'm going to make sure that this is to help me verify my trades. Okay, now you're going to see something here. You see, when that pin bar came down there, look where this was. That told me that it was going to go around. I mean, there. See, even in this little upswing here, it told you which way it was going to go. There was just some divergence right there that showed you a little divergence there from there to there. Does anybody not know what divergence is? Don't 500 of you say yes, but do any of you know what divergence is or is not? I mean, who doesn't know what divergence is? Give me an idea whether I need to go over this or not. Is where this is going up and that was going down. There's more divergence here from here to here. If you want to start there, there's divergence from there to there. This was going down and that went up. Let's get another example. You see this went up here, but at that point there, this went down. That's telling you that this is way oversold up here. So even if you'd be safe to get in there, I'm going to teach you how to trade this Bollinger Band in a minute. I love Bollinger Bands. I've been using them for 15 years, and they just won't let you down if you don't misuse them. You got to use any tool you have. You've got to use it right. Let me find something else here. You see that M? Now this isn't a good place. It may be though. Wait a minute. Yeah, let's do this. I want to show you I'll show you that M right there. You see that M? That tells you that it was going to go down right there. Whoops, what did I do? What happened to my wheel? Well, now my wheel stuff didn't come in. Okay, anyway, you see that M, where that M crosses there, that went down. If you get a W down here, and this is not a very good W, but it's a perfect example. You see that's a W. There's a W there and a W there. And when you get a W like that, and even though this went down, that W is telling you that price is going to go up. And sure as hell, and it penetrated that Bollinger line real good. So there was a perfect reversal. But forget reversals. I'm just showing you how this indicator has got so much potential. I'm going to let you play with it this week a little. You see this W here? Well, what did price do right there? Even though it wasn't a very big jump, look what happened here. It went up. Look at this W here. And especially when you get a crawling W like that, when it goes down below that, look what happened up here. If nothing else, you would have made 10 pips on it. I don't like 10 pips, but I mean, I'll take it. But those are just little signals that Mother Nature will give you if you're paying attention and you're awake. Even the W there, it showed that, and it showed this. So this little indicator now, here's a perfect example of divergence right there. There's a group called divergence groups necessary. One of the moderators and I don't get along very well, so I quit or they banned me. I don't remember which. It was just here a little bit ago. He was bitching about my training people. So there's the up part of that, and this is the down part of that divergence. Just look at that. What a signal. Penetrated the Bollinger, divergence. That would take you at least down to there. And there's your Momo entry anyway. So the Momo occurred right after that. So that was almost a lead pipe cinch that it was going to go down because you had these two signals happen before the Momo and after it had gone through the yellow 21 line. And I'm going through this. Ooh, let's see here. We're on the bottom here. Look at that. There's some divergence right there. Right there, even though it went up only a little ways. that was telling me with all of that stuff there to get the heck out of that mess. See that little old W right there? M's and W's are Mother Nature's signals for us. Now look at that. Look at that M. When that 11 pips, not very much, but you know, I'm simply saying that their signals are there. And you get on your 4-hour chart, something like that is worth 200 pips. See where this max started way back here. This is way back. Oh, April 22nd. This is a couple of days before. You had to cross over you crossed over the 21. You penetrated the outer edge. You had a W there, and you had, this wasn't divergence, but you had a W there. So that's a pretty good place, even though it occurred here. Oops, I can't make that thing stick. There's a W there. So it's a pretty good place to make your entry. And then when the blue crossed the red, there's your first scale-in entry. Would be right here, right above that. And you got a doji that's telling you the same thing. Here's your original entry right here. Oops. If you know what to look for and you're patient, patience and focus are two very important things here. This trade would have started at, I don't know what time frame you're in, but that's at 8:10 Oklahoma time, or 8:10 time, and we're 6 hours before that. That would have been about 2 o'clock in the morning here. That's just right around your British Open. And then your scale ends here, and this is a beautiful. This is probably worth 1,000 pips in a matter of 5 hours. There's your scale in entry. There are other things to tell you. You'd scale in another unit there. You scale in another 2 units there. You scale in another 2 units there. There you go. There's your bars. That blue bar is telling you it's going to go up. Perfect scale ins there. And you've entered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 times. And let's just assume that you decide there's a down. Look at that down bar. Perfect. And this is telling you right here it's going down. I want to make sure it is going to go down, so you'd exit. There's your re-entries. There's your original entry. That went down. That went down. Price crossed the Bollinger Band. And bing, 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 bing. And you got another bing right there. If you want, you don't have to take all of those. I take a lot of them, though. It just depends on how things look. And if I got a lot of gains here, I may really go for a couple. I may double up my play down in here somewhere. Let's see, where's the last one? There it is, right there. You may want to take that. But then here's your exit. See, you've got divergence, and it's telling you when to get out. Mother Nature doesn't like to be fooled or amused, but she loves you to follow instructions. And when she sends you a signal like that, if you go against it and don't pay attention to it, she will penalize you. I love Mother Nature. You see what happens there? With that trade right there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 entries over a period of how long? How many bars is that? That's 56 bars, so that's 10 hours, 11 hours. And these trades exist 2 to 3 times a week on every pair. 2 to 3 times a week on every pair. You just have to know what to put your hook out there in the water and watch the line never cross the red line. So we're still in this trend. And so you got a second part of this little sucker. Oh, my goodness, look here. You'd have a re-entry right there. Look at that. That M down there is telling you it's a good re-entry. And that's going to go all the way down here, and you've got all these bars here telling you, and this is telling you it's going to go up. Mother Nature sending you her warning. And then you had accelerated entries here. Let me just mark them. There's a entry. You got a re-entry here. You got a re-entry here. And let's see, where's that one? Yeah, you got a re-entry here, right off that long bar. Whoops, one more over. Didn't think it was that far. I would never re-enter after a long bar like that. That's just not my style because you're giving away too many pips. I'll wait for the next pullback. Never enter after a long bar. That's a rule. Never enter after a long bar. That's a rule. You only take a one where it's been some kind of a pullback. You can see the pullbacks. You can actually, I would have entered this here before the red bar ever happened because of that. When that bar turns red and it's pulled back 4, 5, 6 bars, I'll take a chance on it. But sometimes I will enter on a bar when it just turns red. If it's crossed that 21 and came back red, and it almost hit the 21 and came back red, I will re-enter against the MACD down here. But see, you're never against Mother Nature in the other thing. You see that nice little M right there is telling you, mark that for you. See, I doubt if I would enter after that one. But the next one or the next one, you got a doji here, you got that, and you got this bull bar, this bear bar right there. See that? That's your bear hammer. Red, I'd enter after that bar. You get down here, you quit. When you had a long bar like that, you get a bunch of garbage like that, quit. But still, this is the second part of this 1,000-pip trade. This is another 500 to 800 pips right there, all in one day. There's 2,000 pips there that one day with little risk. See, my job is to minimize risk. The trades are there. We're at the very beginning, so let's kind of scroll. You see that? Look at this. Bing, 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 bing. All the way to the top of that till it crosses out of the Bollinger. See, it stays in the Bollinger there. That tells you it's probably going to go on up. This tells you, look at that bar, those bars right there. Okay, there's 83 pips from the beginning to the end of this little thing. But that little trade right there over a period of 74 bars, which is, 6 hours, is probably worth 400 pips minimum. 400 pips minimum is 7 hours, 6 hours. You think you could spend all that money you could make with this stuff? Okay. So anyway, start at the back of your favorite pair, 5-minute chart. If you want to do more, you can do more. But just do the kaleidoscope first. There's you a nice Momo. And you take every trade where the direction of the home base direction. And if it goes out of that bar right there, wait till it comes out of the Bollinger Band. And that's a perfect setup. See, it touched that side first. And it almost always does. And I say almost because nobody knows. I don't have time to count them, and I don't have a counter big enough to take the time to do it. You see bouncy, bouncy, bouncy. I've probably gotten stopped out on one of these areas here. I wouldn't know. But you see, you got another one coming right behind it. And as long as that line's going down, sometimes I violate that rule of waiting till out of the Bollinger, and I can cross it there. But you still gain a lot of pips by waiting. That bar closed out there, but I always like to see what the next bar is. That bar tells you it thinks it's going up. This one tells right behind it, say it's going down. And this one over here bouncing off of that tells me it's going down. So there's your entry point. You have to figure your entry part. See, that's almost an inside bar, maybe not quite. Let me check the prices there. Because if you get that inside bar behind that down doji, that's a big help. The high of that bar is 210.97, and the high of the next bar, where'd it go? Right here. Is 210.97. So see, there's an inside bar with a down doji preceding it. And then you've got a down, even though it's blue bar, it's still pointing downward. So that your entry would be somewhere around in that down bar there or that down bar there as soon as it turns red. Probably, but that's the inside bar, so you probably wouldn't enter it here, till here. And these things aren't fixed. These are just things you figure out for safety. It's not whether it's the best money maker, it's whether it's the safest or not. You see, this thing bounced clear down through there. Well, it bounced up. And then it came back here and touched it again, and then it took off. So sometimes there's always that head fake, as a friend of mine used to call it. And he was right. And look at this doji up here heading down. Look at that bar there heading down. Even though it fools you, try to fool you with the bear. The bulls are still trying to be in there. The bears finally take over right here. And see, there's 18, 20 pips there, but it bounces off of home base, if you look. And then it goes down a little bit lower, but the bears there's a real struggle going on here. So that's a good place to stay out of it. Good place to stay out of here till this thing smooths out. Now once you see this, you see a little squeeze, bouncy there, and looky there. You got a nice little trade there. And then you got a second part of it. You may only have this part of it, but you get in there and you get out a half of it there. You ride the other half, and then you may re-enter here, and you see that. So you're gonna make a few pips. Then on the second part of it, you're gonna make probably 200 in this batch here. Okay, now watch the entry here. Entry here after bouncing off of home base. That little down doji tells me I don't need to wait to cross that. You got an entry there. You got an exit right here, half of it. You're going to enter a second half right here. You're going to exit part of the second half right there. You're going to re-enter right in here. You're going to exit right there. When that thing sticks, actually, you wouldn't exit there because it bounces, but here where you've got 2 or 3 of these in a row. So see how much this was worth? First part's worth 88. First part's worth 31. First part's worth 20. And the half of the first part was worth 72. 30. You had 2 of those. So see, you've got 250 pips right there. How many hours is this? How long did it take? You might have been up all night, but that's 33 bars. That's barely 4.5 hours, and it started at 15:55. That's 9:55 a.m. my time. Now see, that's perfect. That started with the New York, around here after New York opened. And I think you'll find that they're evenly split between New York and London. Maybe 40 and 20% are outside of the London time. But you see, this really, you didn't have to exit. Once it got up here and bounced off of that thing, you could enter there because now you've got great separation. So this was just a fake out, but it still got out with a lot of pips. You can re-enter here and ride this sucker all the way down. So, in other words, you take a screenshot. And you don't have to try to pick them all. Just pick a few of them. There's one. That's midnight London time, or GMT time. So this would be a nice little trade to pick up here. Exit right in there. That bounce with that coming off of there like that, I probably would enter just as soon across that red line. I won't be all over that. First parts were 24 pips. Okay, that's a